Welcome back. This is the Dr. Jimbo Love Show. I'm here with Seth Matthew, and we missed last week. We want to apologize to you guys out there. We're going to get right into it. We've got the 11 o'clock kickoffs coming here very quickly. You'll hear it in the background. Of course, we've got the Broncos and the Steelers. But let's talk a little college football. And I'm going to let Seth talk about his Oklahoma team because, boy, I'll tell you, they made a huge comeback yesterday and ended up beating Texas in the Red River rivalry.
Well, and you had a great matchup. The crazy thing about the Texas team is they are starting a quarterback that is a diehard OU fan. His dad actually used to play for OU back in the day. He got in some legal trouble and left. But his whole family is all OU fans. So he went to the rival, played for Texas. Most likely because if you look at OU, they've been gifted a million quarterbacks. You came with Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, and this kid's a senior, so he needed his time to play, so he went to Texas. He started out hot. OU looked like they were in trouble. Spencer Rattler did not look like the Heisman candidate that he was supposed to be at the beginning of the year. And the coach made a decision midway through the second quarter to put in a freshman quarterback, 18 years old. The fans all love him. They actually were calling for him. Even when OU won last week, they were chanting his name to put him in over Rattler. He went in and led a 21-point comeback to beat the Texas Longhorns. Unfortunately for Spencer Rattler, this might be the last time you see him in an OU uniform. He's probably going to have to go to the transfer portal because with a game like that and not playing anymore, you're not going to do well in the NFL draft.
It's amazing. And thank God that for the transfer portal, because a lot of these guys would be stuck. I remember way back in the early 90s, Mark Brunell was at the University of Washington, and he ended up getting hurt, and then the other quarterback came in, and I can't remember his name. But anyways, he ended up having to sit the bench, and it hurt him with his draft status and everything else as well. We want to talk also about Penn State, and they lost their quarterback. And with Penn State's quarterback loss, pretty much their season looks like it's not going to do well. Iowa came back and beat them by 3.
Now, Iowa's a tricky team. People remember about, I want to say it was 5-6 years ago, Iowa had been in the top 4 before. They looked like college championship bound, and they lost to an unranked. They play well against ranked teams, and they have a great program there that's been pretty solid over the last couple of years. I didn't really doubt them coming back and winning. The big thing with that game is the Big Ten is in jeopardy. It's either going to be Iowa, Ohio State, or nobody. Big Ten may not represent the top 4 this year, which is kind of unusual. They've always kind of slipped in there with at least one team. It's usually Ohio State. But this could be the first year we don't see Big Ten in the championship.
It was kind of interesting because you saw, they were ranked 3 and 4 respectively, and when you play against each other this early in the year, it does hurt you for that thing. That's why I'm hoping that they expand it. I think they're talking about expanding it to 12 teams. Is what they're saying, right?
The big logistics of it is the bowl games.
Right.
They don't want to take away from them because that's big money for these smaller programs and everything. So you don't want to take away from that. It also runs into another season. I believe the NFL playoffs would be affected, where they'd be playing the same time. And right now, the NFL playoffs do play Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
And that would be the issue running into it because college football is typically going to be on Saturdays. So they don't want to interfere with the NFL. They don't want to run into those scheduling conflicts. So
it's almost like they're going to have to start the season, college football, maybe 2 weeks early.
Yeah.
That would really alleviate it. Plus, it'd be great to get the people back on campus early in the summer. And I would never complain about watching college football in August.
Oh, no, I'll keep going. It's going to be great. One other game I want to really touch on. Alabama got upset for the first time. Now, the big part of that game was Nick Saban. It was his assistant coach that he played against. Now, he's played his assistants 24 times and never lost.
Wow.
And this was his first upset.
Was that Lane Kiffin? No, Lane Kiffin he's at Mississippi.
I'll have to look up who the coach is because he's beaten Lane Kiffin 3 times.
Yes.
But going into that game, Alabama looked like a sure thing for the college championship. I do think they're going to allow them in. They're going to have to beat Georgia in the SEC, and I think Georgia and Alabama will get in, even with a loss at that point. But you're going to run into, right now, you're going to look at Georgia obviously taking the number 1. They handled their business against Auburn. You're looking at Iowa probably jumping to number 2 in the country. But now you get in a question mark. Are you going to put OU at 3, or are you going to have a Cincinnati team that doesn't play as tough of a schedule in that 3 spot, and then put OU 4 and knock Alabama to 5? Or does Cincinnati get screwed by the polls, and do they stay at 5, OU hops up, and you put Alabama at 4? We're going to have to wait and find out the new rankings.
And luckily, we're not starting the playoffs anytime soon, so this will work its way out.
Well, and they haven't released the AP poll yet, or when they actually come out with the real poll, what we go by. Right now is kind of voting and all that. So they'll release the real polls. I believe it's week 8 they released the real polls.
And I got to give a shout out to Arkansas's head coach. He went for it and had a 2-point conversion, which ended up having them lose 52-51. But here's a guy who's trying to protect his players. It's a tough call to make, but he pulled the trigger, and unfortunately it didn't work out for him. That's a 2-loss Arkansas team. That's a really, really tough team in the West.
Yeah.
Other than that, let's talk a little bit about Pro. The feature game, of course, since we're in Denver, is going to be the Broncos versus the Steelers in Pittsburgh. I checked the line this morning, and believe it or not, Pittsburgh is still a 1.5-point favorite. But remember, in the NFL, if you're playing home, you automatically get 3 points. So technically, probably they're not really favored if they're playing on a neutral field.
Pittsburgh's a weird one for me because I'm not giving up on them. They're still there. They still got their guys. They've been a couple injuries, but nothing that should affect them this bad. They're going against a Broncos team that Teddy Bridgewater did get cleared to play today, so you will see Teddy. Because if it was Drew Lock, 100% Pittsburgh, not even going to question it. But with Teddy back at the helm, I picked Pittsburgh to win, but it is a big question mark for me on how Teddy comes out after that big hit. I hope he does well, but we'll see how this game plays out. Najee Harris is starting to get rolling. Really need to involve him more in the run game. Right now, he's getting most of his yards on short catches. But other than that, Big Ben, you need to get back to yourself. You need to. I know
you're talking about it in the paper this morning. I was reading it, and they're saying how Bridgewater's better statistically right now than Ben. And of course, we know Ben with 2 Super Bowls. He's a perennial Hall of Famer. I think you're going to see a big bounce back with Ben this week. Look for Najee Harris out of the backfield. They're going to do a lot of short passes to him, and they'll probably utilize their short game with the tight ends as well, because they're trying to give Ben, with the rookies on the offensive line, they really just got trying to get the ball out of his hands as fast as possible.
And you're going against a very veteran, very strong linebacker crew coming from the Denver Broncos, so everything's got to be quick if Pittsburgh's going to be successful.
Absolutely. Well, good. Let's talk a little bit about Minnesota Vikings. They're playing Detroit.
So Minnesota shouldn't have an issue today. Dalvin Cook is out again, but Minnesota's only win is with Dalvin Cook out right now. They're a 10-point favorite going into today, and there really shouldn't be a struggle. Detroit is a very young, ready-to-take team. They're trying to rebuild. Jared Goff's at the helm. He's had moments where he looks great, but then he's never put a full game together this year, and that's kind of the downfall of the Detroit Lions. Kind of change subjects real quick is at Thursday's game, Rams vs. Seahawks. It's unfortunate. Russell Wilson is going to be out for 4 to 8 weeks. His hand did not look good. Geno Smith from West Virginia is going to take over. I wish him the best, but this might be the downfall of Seattle this year as well.
Yeah, it's just, you never know. That's one thing about the NFL. You never know the injuries and what's going to happen and how well teams adapt to filling in people and, next man up kind of situation. Geno Smith had a really good career in West Virginia. He's got a strong arm, and we'll just see. This is his chance to really. He's going to get at least 6 weeks, probably. I would think.
And he didn't look that bad. He actually drove more yards than Russell Wilson did in that second half on one drive than he did in 3. So he was successful. He was playing from behind, so he was forcing things. So until we get to see him in a full game, we're really not going to be able to see what he's capable of.
Plus he'll have the whole week and he'll get all the snaps too, which will give him a lot more preparation.
Yeah.
Now we had a game this morning over in Europe. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, London game. You have the Atlanta Falcons versus New York Jets. Not the 2 greatest teams in the NFL, But Matt Ryan's starting to come in. He's gotten 2 touchdown passes thrown in the last 3 games now. They handled New York just like I thought they would. I thought New York was going to look a little bit better. I did have a question though. Do you think that people in London actually own these jerseys, or are these like Americans coming over to them? Because when you look at the stand, it's all New York Jets jerseys, Atlanta, and I was really confused on, like, when we have
I think it's a jersey giveaway. I mean, I can't imagine that many people going out and spending £100 or whatever it costs over there for an NFL jersey. I'm sure they're a little bit more expensive than they are here. And really, there's more soccer interest over there than anywhere, you know, any football thing. So I guess they're giving them out.
And no offense to my Jets fans, but I can't see that many people in England buy New York Jets jerseys.
Outside of New York.
Yeah.
So, any other game that you...
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to walk right into the match of the day. Now, we're all going to want it to be a shootout. We're thinking it's going to be like the OU game, 52-49. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
Great team matchup. Buffalo, I give you the edge in defense. I'll never count out Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. I picked Buffalo. Kansas City is favored. But I think Josh Allen's really going to have a day today. He's just getting better. You have Stephon Diggs at number 1. You have Emmanuel Sanders at number 2. You have a young tight end in Knox that is really emerging as a playmaker. And on top of that, your defense is stuffing everybody, so there's no pressure to keep up in the race.
Yeah, Josh Allen, we'll see. This will be a good test for him. Now, Buffalo, they lost to Pittsburgh in the first game, but since then, they have just crushed their opponents. So Buffalo's got a lot of momentum. And, you know, Josh Allen's is supposed to be one of the best quarterbacks. We're going to get a chance to see him against Patrick Mahomes, who is the perennial best quarterback in the NFL right now.
Well, in fantasy football owners, I know some of you have been a little disappointed with Josh Allen's production because last year he had to put the team on his back, but he hasn't had to. So he's still going to win games. It might not be best for your fantasy football team. Matchups like this Kansas City one, he's going to put on a show. Now, the big thing is, everyone prepare to be a letdown. We all want it to be a 52-49 game, exciting. But watch it be 7-14. It has that possibility. I hope it's not. I hope it's one of those back and forth things that is just a huge offensive show for us to watch. Because that's exactly what we got with that Ole Miss versus Arkansas, Oklahoma versus Texas. After those games, they were the first games of the day. It seemed like there was going to be no chance that I was going to be interested in the other college football game because those were so exciting and so awesome to watch.
Now that Penn State Iowa game really that was nice. It started at 2, not 1:30, so it gave us a little bit of a break between the first set of games and the second set of games. I was downtown at the Penn State bar watching, and there were a lot of very, very upset people leaving that bar, especially after their quarterback went down.
Yeah.
But I went down there after this. I was at the South Carolina bar. Unfortunately, South Carolina got blistered by Tennessee. And the Gamecocks continue to struggle. Again, they have their first-year coach, which is Shane Beamer. A lot of you know the last name Beamer because his dad was a coach at Virginia Tech for many, many, many years, Frank Beamer. So we're hoping that they can turn it around, but right now it's really hard to be a Gamecock fan.
Hey, and who knows? You may get some hope. I mean, Spencer Rattler does have some transfer. Maybe you get him next year.
That'd be nice.
And one last game we should talk about. I'm still a doubter, but the LA Chargers versus the Cleveland Browns. And you know, I'm doubting the Chargers. I know you have been up and coming.
I like them.
You guys have played. Yeah, Herbert is a fantastic quarterback. I give it to him.
He's amazing. I mean, he's just so big and he's got such a presence and he's so accurate with his balls.
And so, I mean, it's going to be a good game. Baker apparently playing with a torn on his shoulder, his labrum. This season, so maybe he can't throw that deep ball well. Chargers may come in and handle it, but you know, I picked the Cleveland Browns. I like Nick Chubb, I like Kareem Hunt, they're a great duo. Jarvis Landry's out right now, but Odell stepped back in. You got T. Higgins. You just have a great team in the Cleveland Browns. Now the question is, are the Browns defense going to be able to stop Herbert? Because if it turns to a shootout, Chargers usually take this. But if Cleveland can get some stops, their run game, Even though the Chargers have a great defense, they should be able to pull away this win.
Well, me as being a Steeler fan, of course, I'm a huge Charger fan today. But a lot of Bronco fans out there are probably going to be rooting for the Browns, mainly because, anytime they can have a division foe lose, it's going to be better for the Broncos.
Well, me, Baker Mayfield, OU alum, I gotta secretly cheer for him.
It makes, he'll wear the Browns jersey every once in a while, and I just can't look at him for the rest of the day while he's wearing it. But other than that, it's really not a big issue.
Yeah, well, and I mean, the big thing is, Minnesota, I love your teams. I'm an Avalanche fan, but Minnesota every other time. You always give me hope every year, and you crush my hopes, and I gotta kind of root for a team that's not gonna hurt me. So.
That's great. But we want to talk a little bit about Brothers Bar and Grill here in Northfield. The shops at Northfield is what this area is called. Seth, the GM here, tell us a little bit about what you got going on this week. Is there anything special going on with the Monday nights and the Thursday nights?
So we just finished, we showed the Wilder Fury fight, a great boxing match. Fury ended up taking the win. That was the trilogy, so it should be done. But great, both fighters got knocked down multiple times, and eventually Fury got the edge. Right. This week we have Monday Night Football is going to be the Baltimore Ravens and Indianapolis Colts. I give my edge to the Ravens. I'll never root against Lamar Jackson. He does wonderful things. He's a beat-up team, and he's still finding ways to win games. They beat the Broncos last week. It was a game I expected, but I thought the Broncos would do a little better. As soon as Teddy went down, it was getting over.
Drew Lock it's amazing the drop-off between Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. Drew Lock looks like almost like an arena football quarterback out there. He's just so small.
And unfortunately for him, with Teddy being here, people didn't know what they were missing. Right. So everybody supported Drew Lock until this point, and now they see Teddy Bridgewater leading the way, throwing great games. Almost like an 80% completion rate, just doesn't make mistakes, rarely interceptions, and they didn't have that with Drew Lock. They had maybe a 65-70% completion, multiple picks, and because he was forcing things, he was just young, he didn't really understand the game yet. So Broncos fans are all behind Teddy now, which is funny, because at the beginning of the season, I felt like I was the only one backing Teddy. Everybody was like, no, Drew's the guy, Drew's the guy. That hasn't been the case. They've seen what he can do. Sorry, Drew Lock. It's just I think you're going to find him to just be a backup quarterback for the rest of his career. Yeah.
He'll step into his injuries. We also wanted to thank one of our other sponsors, Partner Exteriors. Again, it's a family-owned company that has roofing and siding and also does painting. They'll do one-stop shop for any of your damaged roofs or any kind of storm damage out there. Also, Pro Comfort Medical is another one of our sponsors. Again, this is a program that's set up for people that have Medicaid, Medicare, and a PPO supporting that. Basically, they give away free shoes, diabetic shoes, along with orthotics and knee braces and back braces, compression socks. Finally, Medicaid and Medicare is realizing that if they spend a little money and if they relieve some of these seniors' pain, that it really pays dividends down the road. Hip replacement, knee replacement, and back surgeries are very, very expensive. And these are all things that our tax dollars are paying for. So let's give a thumbs up to Medicaid and Medicare for finally understanding to take care of our seniors and make them feel so much better. We'll be back again next week. We'll talk a little bit about the college games again. We want to thank you guys for listening, and also remember, come down to Brothers. We're at the shops in Northfield, and come on in and see Seth and I. We'll be here for the day, and Seth's here all the time because this is where Seth works.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you very much, and have a great rest of your afternoon and have a great rest of your weekend.
See you guys.